Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde and you are on to Inside Sources. Here is my take for today entitled, Still on the Benue Killings. Now, if you listen to the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuri Badu, he speaks a lot about some of the improvements that the government has managed to put in place regarding security. And there is no denying that government is always making efforts to ensure the security of life and property. However, it is important for the National Security Advisor and the entire security architecture of government to understand the frustration of the Nigerian people when you see the persistence, the continuation of the kind of gory things that are going on in places such as Benue, where between February and now, there are claims of about 1,000 lives lost to callous killings by intruders that are harassing the people and trying to take their land. The impunity has been on for a long time, up until last week in Benue, compelling the president himself, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to make a trip this last Wednesday to Benue. And the president went on with a message of reconciliation. It is not a bad message. But Mr. President, the first line of business in Benue is to stop the killings. If you look at how long this has gone on, even recently, and the consistency, the repetition of the attacks, of the killing, the callousness of it, the fact that it seems it is something that cannot be stopped, we can understand the frustration of the people and the need for an outrage of all of us regarding what is happening, especially in Benue. So it is time, Mr. President, now that you have gone, to ensure that those killings are terminated. And the way to do this is to bring some people to book. If the impunity continues, the attacks might also continue. Because if people, the intruders, get the idea that they can do this scot-free, which is what they've been doing over the years, then they will continue to do it. It's time to rein in against the intruders. It's time to make arrests and to make them public. It's time to begin a serious prosecution of the people that are behind these callous killings, especially in Benue. It's time to have troops, police and military stationed in strategic places in Benue on a long-term basis to stop what is clearly a mad situation. People are dying for no reasons. People are being burnt, killed such like dogs. Mr. President, please use the opportunity of you going there to see the victims for yourself. Use it as an opportunity to stop these killings because you can. The office of the president has been endowed with so much powers. It is to enable the president or anyone occupying that office to be able to exert the powers to protect the Nigerian people. What is happening in Benue is not just happening to the people of Benue. Everybody in Nigeria can see it. The impunity, the callousness of the whole act. It is the reason why all of us should rise up and speak up so that this can end. Now we have attracted the attention of the United Nations about the Benue killings. Now we have attracted the attention of Pope Leo. It is a serious matter. A governor in this country has said regarding the situation in Plateau, similar, that is a genocide. We can no longer treat this with kid gloves. Good thing, the Chief of Defense Staff recently said that he believes that the people of Benue and Plateau and other places like that, the young people have to be trained. That speaks to the sensitivity of the leadership of the military. But we need the military to do more than that. That's a good one. We need them to stay in these troubled places and stop the killings. If there is need for more troops, let us get more troops and let us do it quickly. And finally, Mr. President, you need to be bullish about state police. Let each state be able to run their own internal security. That way, we can begin to hold the governors responsible for whatever is happening in their state. Because under state police or some form of decentralization of the police, the state governors will have more powers. Until then, Mr. President, regarding matters of security, the buck stops at your desk. And it is not enough, sir, just to ask Governor Alia to fix what is happening in Benue. That will be your responsibility, and I'm trusting and believing that now that you have visited Benue for yourself and you have seen the things for yourself, you will become more decisive about the killings in Benue, about the killings in Plateau, and about the insecurity around the country. We believe that you can do it, Mr. President, and God will help you. And there you have it. Inside Sources. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, as we continue our conversation on the future of Nigeria, I have a most eminent Nigerian politician who is also an eminent technocrat. He was formerly the deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State and was also one time the managing director of the Niger Delta Development Corporation. I'd like to welcome Obong Istima Ekere.
Thank you very much, Laula. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you in Inside Sources, and good to see you in Abuja again.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So it's a conversation on the future of Nigeria.
Yes.
You know, and I normally start by asking my guests, if you look at where Nigeria is today, where do you think we are going? Many of us believe that Nigeria has a destiny of greatness. With all the things that are happening over the years, not just now, are we on course to that destiny?
Well, thank you for having me once more. Nigeria, very complex country, great country, potentially very, very great country. I'll say it's a work in progress. We're not where we should be as a country. I mean, considering how many years, the years of independence and all of that. But, you know, some progress is being done. And I'll probably talk about the last 2 years of the present administration. You see, he came in with a lot of very audacious, policies, reforms, economic reforms, talk about the removal of petroleum subsidy, talk about also fiscal policy changes, unification of the exchange rate, and all of that. The truth of the matter is that if you look at it very closely, the data is telling us a lot of progress is being made. Okay, I know this is not yet translated to better living conditions for Nigerians, affordable living conditions, and so on and so forth. But it's work in progress. I believe that the way, if these reforms are sustained, and we keep going on them the way they are being looked at now, that hopefully in the next couple of years Nigeria maybe would be out of the woods. But there are a couple of issues, a couple of areas that I think we need to pay attention to. And one of those areas I would tell you clearly is the issue of power. A country of over 250 million people generating less than 4 or 5 thousand megawatts of electricity is totally unacceptable. I believe that President Tinubu has the courage, he has the experience, and he has all it takes to solve the power problem, at least begin to solve the power problem of this country. And there are no two ways about it. There are no two ways about it. We just have to generate more power and build infrastructure. because you see, I believe that power would be the major catalyst for economic growth for this country.
Yeah.
Without power, economic businesses and so on would be, they're still struggling. Personally,
right.
I mean, I'm sure you're suffering the same. You know what it's costing you to run your home.
Even a home,
talk less of offices. I believe that if we tackle the issue of power, then we can, together with all the things going on now, then we can comfortably say that Nigeria is on the path to prosperity and recovery. So I believe he can do it, and I want to believe it's something that he's considering.
Okay, I mean, just for full disclosure, I also have this inherent hope, that 2 years is actually enough time for the president to turn the hand of things, as using the example of power that you brought up. I mean, there's no doubt about it that power is so central, to every other thing around the economy and even the normal lifestyle, livelihood of people. But I wanted to ask you, since you're also a bit of a technocrat, and I've read your story, I've followed you for quite a while. I know that you also, you are somebody that is hands-on in some of these things. What do you think the president ought to do, even in that power? What are the specific things? If you have,
for me, if I was president of this country, I'll declare a state of emergency on power. The state of emergency will give the president powers to do things, attack the issues frontally, without the bureaucracy. One of the major problems, I happen to be, I've been involved in the power sector. I was the chairman of the Ibom Power Company, a generation.
Yeah, in Akwa Ibom State,
Akwa Ibom
before
State.
You became deputy governor.
Yes. And then also, when I was MD of NDDC, we were involved also with a lot of the distribution arm of power, because we intervened, with upgrade of infrastructural facilities for the discos, which is another conversation I would like to have at some point, because you see state governments, local governments, intervention agencies like NDDC, all of them would spend hundreds of millions, maybe billions of naira yearly, providing transformers, helping to upgrade the distribution infrastructure in this country. And the distribution companies would still be charging all the monies they are charging without any recourse to the intervention funds they are getting from the state governments or any of these intervention agencies. I think that's very unfair. It's very unfair.
That they get a lot of intervention, that helps them.
For instance, I can say I want to intervene in Gusape.
Yes.
Okay? We see that the power here is not very good. What is required? Injection substation, transformers, and then the state government or intervention agency goes ahead, provides all those things. All right?
Yes.
Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, knowing fully well that those facilities have been provided by intervention, will still be charging all the monies that they need to charge for using those powers. That's one. Another thing is, in your house, for instance, they can advise you to get a transformer. You use your own money to buy a transformer to put in your house or your estate or whatever. And they will be charging you what they call, they'll put a maximum demand meter and charge you a certain amount of money more than the power you're using, even when you're using your own money to these are things that need to be addressed.
So this is
I think the discos were supposed to, and I'm not faulting the entire privatization of the power sector that was done under President Jonathan.
Right.
Okay, but I think the discos particularly have not done what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to have injected certain amounts of money into their operations over a certain time. They've not done that. The federal government even went ahead and gave them more money, and most of them were fighting in their boardrooms.
Over spending the money.
over the money. Yeah, so this is...
But do you, so what kind of a radical thing do you think a president can do if he were to declare a state of emergency? Will it take over the discourse again or what?
If you ask me, I mean, you see, because the discourse are not able to inject the amount of funds that is needed, take the discourse over.
Yeah, which they actually pleaded when they were buying the stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So part of the deal.
So take the discourse over, inject the funds as required, get funding from the World Bank, anywhere, international development agencies, and pump into let's have what we need. And after we've put in all the monies and upgraded all the facilities to what we need, generation, transmission, and distribution, then you can then privatize. And all the monies you've spent, the loans you've taken, you privatize and get the money and then pay back. So in other words, we would have ended up upgrading the power infrastructure in the country, improving our power supply at no cost to government. At no cost to government.
No, but when the government, in your penalty now, your suggestion, if the president were to declare a state of emergency and it takes it over, for instance, they take over federal government or some kind of structure, take over the discourse, they will have to spend money to improve the
That's what I'm saying.
Infrastructure.
So they have to spend the money to improve the infrastructure. Government alone might not be able to afford that money. So they take whatever loans are required.
Okay.
Now, when they finish upgrading,
they can always take the money back from their profits.
They now privatize at that stage.
Okay.
They'll fix the prices and privatize at that stage.
Right.
And make sure they get all the monies that they have
from
spent.
The privatization.
Yes, from the privatization. And pay back the loans that you've taken. All right, but you see, the state of emergency would also enable Mr. President. Because one of the problems that I know that power companies have is right-of-way issues.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you have a state of emergency, you say, come on, communities, hold on.
All right? Sit down for a while.
I mean, eventually their monies will be paid to them, but we are in a hurry. We need to get things done quickly. ASAP. And so we need to just move very quickly. Okay? State governments should be involved, of course, in way issues, right-of-way issues. Right. And all of that, because they are closer to the grassroots. But I think it's an economic emergency for the country. We must declare this and handle it as an economic emergency. Right.
Okay.
What is going on right now? It's like you have if I want to use the words of Governor Wike, you have cancer. And then you are treating it for malaria. That's what's happening to the power sector right now. We have a cancer in our hands, and we're treating it for malaria.
Interesting.
We must make that investment that's necessary to lift up that sector for the good of this country.
Okay. Let's move along to, since we are talking about the future of the country, I will make a comment and then, I will ask you to also respond.
Yes.
Now, I think that part of the challenges that we have had is that our political elite, I think there is a challenge, around the critical mass of our political elite. Of course, we have very, wonderful people, no doubt about that. I work with some of them, so I can say this. But for the large part, for the most part, we have a set of political elites that have become more involved in personal aggrandizement. And we're not saying that people shouldn't have personal interest. There's no place where personal interest is not important. I mean, God didn't say that we shouldn't like ourselves. But I think that there has been an overplay of the personal interest in Nigerian politics, and it explains part of why, we can't even manage some very basic issues because personal interest is overriding. Now, so to that extent, how much of the responsibility of where we are today are you willing to say that is because of the kind of political elites that we have? In your view?
You see, leadership is key, and it's the answer to virtually, all the problems we have as a country. If you look at the political and economic development of other countries in the world, you'll see people like to always refer to Singapore and all of that. You see, when you have a leader that prioritizes the interest of his people and his country, things will definitely change. Okay. I want to believe that Mr. President, President Bola Tinubu, has the interest of this country at heart, and you know, with the right people working with him, because it's a tree cannot make a forest. The president alone can't make it happen.
No way.
You know, he has members of the Federal Executive Council. He has advisors. He has, you know, heads of agencies, and you know, if we have the right people in the right places, we most likely would make some progress. But then also, because you are here, because you talked about this, I personally believe that one of the greatest problems we have as a country is that our political recruitment process is very faulty. Very, very faulty. We end up having, for the large part, people who probably are promoted beyond their capacities in places.
A lot.
A whole lot. And,
I agree,
and it will show. It will definitely show. Like they say, I mean, at the end of the day, water finds its own level.
Yeah.
You know, water finds its own level. You know, but our political class, they prioritize what they call loyalty, you know, more than competence when they are promoting politicians. And I mean, and they've refused to learn. Because you see, that's all the experiences that are going in the country, you can see that there's nothing like loyalty. Nothing. Because once
the guy pretends to be loyal and gets the power, the game changes.
So it's high time we begin to, you know, look more at capacity, competence over so-called loyalty. Because that's really, I mean, look at every human being that you interact with, you can say to some extent, this guy has integrity, okay? So look at quality, you know, competent people with some level of integrity. And please, you know, promote them. Don't just bring people that are wishy-washy.
Their only claim is loyalty.
And then you give it to them, they don't even know how to start. They don't know what to do, you know. And I've heard people say, don't worry, we'll put him there and then we'll get a good chief of staff to work with him or her. Come on. Why don't you give the job to the chief of staff? Why don't you give it to him?
You know he's competent.
Yes. You know? So people are more interested in loyalty, control of the fellow in the office, more than competence to deliver. And then that's part of the problems we have as a country.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this question because you're not just Excellency, you're also a brother. How do you describe your own experience in politics? You know.
Well, you see, I would say I'm not the typical
because you've been in politics for quite a bit of time.
Yes. I'm not the typical Nigerian politician because I wouldn't just do anything for the sake of politics, you know. And that's probably because of my background as well. I have something else I can do, which I'm doing, you know.
Right, which you were doing before.
Which I was doing before politics and I would do after politics. So, I mean, yes, I've been involved with political processes for quite a bit. But if you look at the period of time I've actually been in political offices, it's not that much.
Yeah,
because I come in, come out, go in, come out, you know. And then every time I come out, I have something to do. You know, and this is my passion. My basic training is in real estate, and I love real estate, you know. And I love real estate.
you guys make too much money.
Well, I love it. So I'm always, you know, and get involved in other things.
It gives you a bit of independence, you know, and some
that's why you won't just take anything just because, you know, you won't just take anything.
Yeah,
you know.
But let's recall, you know, your role, the two things that you've done politically, and I'd like you to give me what your experiences are. So you were first a deputy governor.
Yes.
You know, well, actually, you were, like you said, you were the chairman of the Akwa Ibom.
I was chairman of the Akwa Ibom Investment. At the time, we used to call it AKIPOC, Investment and Industrial Promotion Council. It was a council or an organization that was in charge of all the private sector interests of the state government.
Was that under Governor?
That was under Governor Akwa Ibom, in the first term of Governor Akwa Ibom.
All right.
So I was chairman of Akipok.
And then you became chairman of the power.
So the power company is owned by Akipok.
Oh, I see.
So I was now, chairman of that. And then when we came in, the power plant was about 60–70% complete, so we needed to complete it. So we completed it.
This was the power plant that Governor
that was started
Atta?
by Governor Atta.
Okay.
One of the, I think apart from Lagos, I think that was probably one of the first power plants in this country.
By the way, Governor Atta was on this show and he said that Obasanjo actually frustrated him, So I guess you guys finished the project.
We finished the project, but you see, I mean, anytime I have the opportunity, I'll say this, considering the fact that at the time Governor Atta was in office, resource control was being fought. It had not yet been won, that battle.
Yeah.
And so the funds were not available. The state government had no money.
Wow.
But go and look at the kind of projects, very audacious, very progressive-minded projects that were started by Governor Atta. And it will amaze you. Most of what you see in the state today were actually started by him.
Yeah.
I mean, other governors, of course, have built on all of those, but he did.
I got that message. I was in Akwa Ibom.
Yes.
And this was what I heard on the streets.
Yes. Most of, you come into Uyo, you see, most of what you see, most of it, was done by Governor Atta. The power plant,
right?
The airport,
which is now named after him.
Which is now named after him. He didn't have the money to complete some of them, like the airport. He couldn't complete it. It's Governor Akwa Ibom that completed it.
Right.
Okay. The power plant, he didn't have the money to complete it. Governor Akwa Ibom completed it. And things like that. We've been talking about the deep sea port, which he also conceptualized, by the way.
Interesting.
Governor Atta conceptualized the deep sea port, which would have been. It would be, it's a no-brainer. It would change the economics of that state. But unfortunately, it's still being discussed. It's not yet been done. But the present governor, I can tell you, it appears to me he's a very focused person, and I can tell you, he's put his mind on completing that deep sea port project, and I think I have every confidence that he's going to do it.
Okay, before we come back to Akwa Ibom, because I'm actually going to also ask you a question around, the activities of the governor, especially his political moves. But I wanted you to also talk about NDDC and Niger Delta.
Yes.
Now, since after the resource control issue was sorted out, and then you have the NDDC, it would seem that a lot of resources have been spent or have been released to the Niger Delta and all of that. But we haven't seen the transformation in the Niger Delta, or in your view, do you think that transformation has taken place? If not, you were MD of NDDC. What do you think happened?
The answer is very simple. A lot of funds have been released to the NDDC.
Right.
Okay? But unfortunately, not all the funds provided for NDDC under the act that set it up has been released to the commission. At the time I was MD, before I left, we had calculated it. I wrote then to President Buhari, and he actually did, approve that the Minister of Budget and Planning at the time and the Minister of Finance should sit down with NDDC, sort it out, get the whatever the outstanding is, and agree on an acceptable payment plan.
Okay. Tell us what the problem was that you asked President Buhari to sort out.
I went to Mr. President and said, by the time we got into NDDC, we found out that there was a lot of overtrading in NDDC.
Okay, what was that?
Now, the amount of money that was being owed contractors for projects that they have already completed.
Okay.
Even if you take all the money coming into NDDC every day and just keep paying the contractors, don't do anything else, don't pay salaries, for probably over 20, 30 years, you won't finish paying.
Oh, wow. How did that happen?
So I think that happened, in my view, because maybe the original people that started the commission, they knew they were expecting a certain amount of money to come in. Okay?
Okay.
And so they probably went ahead
And committed.
And committed the commission, and then this keeps, it keeps, is an incremental figure. It keeps adding. Subsequent administrations come and they will, keep adding. Because when you come, you do projects, okay? And then you, of course, pay for old projects. When I was MD, for the 2 years that we did our budgets, we committed 80% of our funds to ongoing projects, only 20% for new projects.
Okay. Wow.
Because I did that because I felt it was the only way to try and, to re-strategize and clear the balance sheet of the place, improve the balance sheet. Now, so I had to go to the president at the time to say, Mr. President, this is the problem I'm having. Okay, the federal government is, at the time, it was more than 1.5 trillion naira.
That's what outstanding
that was supposed to have been paid to NDDC over the years that the federal government never paid.
Was it because there was no agreement on the...
No, the law...
Or that they didn't have enough money?
No, the law that set up NDDC is very clear on what should be paid to the commission. I think, Nigeria, for some reason, it just wasn't happening. Because as you go for the Federation FAC every month, as the federal government, the states, and the various tiers of government are getting... NDDC is supposed to get a certain amount, a certain percentage. But, when they pay NDDC, they don't pay that percentage.
So it was the NDDC was being underpaid?
They were being, till today, they're still being underpaid. Yes.
Okay. On a consistent basis?
So it keeps piling up.
So when President Buhari said that you should go and meet the ministers to sort it out, what happened?
We were in the process of reconciliation forever.
Okay, I see that. But then, Obong, I like that title. Do you, just like you said, the level of resources that has gone to Niger Delta has not been reflected.
So again,
what do you were going to address that?
Yes, you see, the cost of construction in the Niger Delta, because of the terrain,
right,
is mind-boggling. Okay, so where you probably need 2-3 billion to do a 2-3 kilometer road in other parts of the country, in the Niger Delta, you probably will need 3-4 times that, depending on the exact location.
I see.
Okay, so that's one of the issues that people don't take into account.
Why is that?
But because of the terrain.
So
yes, you have to do a lot of recovery. You recover, the soil first of all. Okay. Before you start construction.
Is it because of the swampy?
Yes, the swampy, the terrain, the swampy terrain. So the cost of development projects is very much, and then because again, like I've said, because of the overtrading. Yeah. So you will see you have 3 million projects going on. Only 10% of them is being funded, okay? And so you won't see completed projects. Yeah. But if you look at a combination of all the projects scattered all over, the uncompleted ones, and add the costs, it's a lot. Right. Okay? Right. But NDDC needs to be rescued from this problem that has, accumulated over the years. They need more money so that they can clear as much as possible their arrears, to contractors, and then fund their projects. Because you see, it's only when they complete a project that you will say, oh, they're doing well. Yeah. If they start a project, leave it halfway, you can't say they're doing well. Yeah. So I think that's the major problem with NDDC. But I want to commend Mr. President, talking about NDDC. You see, in this country, if you look over the years, you will see the high turnover of management of NDDC.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
I left as MD in 2019. I think the
current... in 2016.
Yes, and I left 2019.
To go and run...
I was running. And then, I think the 5 MDs...
Since after you left?
Since after I left. Wow. Come on. What do you think? Yeah. Because a guy comes in, before he settles down to understand the complexities and the problems of what he has to deal with, he's taken away. A new person comes in, so it cannot make progress that way. So I commend Mr. President, who's kept the present management
for quite...
Yes, for this long. And if it's possible, continue, give them a second term. There's nothing wrong with that. Let them consolidate on what they're doing. And, the gentleman there is really doing well. Mr. President himself has commended him a couple of times.
Oh, yes. I was going to say that, well, part of the people responsible for that turnover of management was your former boss, with all due respect, Excellency, and Nigerians haven't forgotten the story of Joy Nune, and all some of those very dramatic allegations and interactions between Joy Nune and Akpabio.
But do not forget, Senator Akpabio was not the president.
Yeah, well, was the minister.
Someone had the green pen. Okay? And the buck stops at some place. And it must,
well,
yes, the person must take responsibility.
Anyway, let's move along to talk about Akwa Ibom. Now, and again, full disclosure, I am personally, a lot of people, give me quite a bit of knocks, for what I'm doing currently because, they see me, most people know me that, oh yeah, you served the Buhari administration, you were Osinbajo's spokesperson. That's what they know. But I was a journalist before I became Osinbajo.
Yes.
And so, just like you, when the job finished, I went back to my day job. So yes. I'm able to say certain things that maybe, politicians will not be able to say. And part of it is my view on the opposition. We have a very weak opposition. And I see that many people that are even joining APC now, they're not even looking at the example of the guy who is the president today, how he was able to stand, for a long time. But when I heard Governor Eno say that, look, I don't want to risk, getting to the second term. If I win, somebody's going to throw up a technicality and say that my party has the national secretary, we don't know who it is. And I thought that was a reasonable.
Of course, yes.
Even though I had criticized some of those defections, when he said that look, why should I risk, my whole
political future
if and we've had that happen in the past.
Yes, absolutely.
Where they consider for certain technicality.
The whole state, all the candidates will just be affected.
So it gave me a pause that okay, let's pay attention to what this guy is saying. It seems to make a different sense. But my question is, now that you have Governor Heno, PDP in APC, you have always been in APC.
No, I'm not always been.
We're not always been.
I was deputy governor in PDP.
That's true.
Yes. So,
you've not always been.
But of course, when APC came in 2014, I crossed over to join. Yes.
So what I meant was
I'm a foundation member.
That's actually my point. That's actually my point, that you are a foundation member of APC.
Yes.
And normally, and this is the question, that I wanted to ask you along with what seems to be happening. Normally, the people in Niger Delta will normally align, but they've normally been in PDPs for a long time, since 1999. But normally, the Niger Delta people normally will align with the federal government. That's, if you look at it, historically. So my point is that, how do you think, because there are still elements, very important elements, of PDP in Akwa Ibom who have not joined APC. Like our good friend, I will mention the name, but you are free not to respond to it. Emmanuel Udom, is still in PDP. As a matter of fact, the boss is that he didn't agree with Governor Eno to move to APC. My question is that, do you think that the people of Akwa Ibom, because it's a different thing when politicians move, the people can decide, and we're going to find out in 2027.
Yes.
Do you think the people of Akwa Ibom are going to make that move?
I will answer that question straight up. You can't fault Governor Eno's reasoning and his movement to the APC. You cannot, okay? But let me also tell you this. The governor, before he moved, spent about 2 months in consulting the relevant stakeholders in the state.
Wow.
So he didn't just defect. What has happened is that Akwa Ibom State has moved.
Interesting.
It's not Governor, you know. The state has moved. And you will see it in 2027.
You left out Emmanuel Udom?
No, you see, again, I'm not privy to the discussions between Governor Udom and Governor Eno, but I'm aware that they have a very good relationship.
Okay.
And I also have the confidence that Governor Umoino's movement to the APC is not going to affect his relationship with them. Because you see, you need to know the character of them. He's a man of integrity. He's said it all over the place. You know, his relationship with his predecessor in office, who is, he calls his boss, can never, you know, he can never do anything that, he can't fight that relationship. Okay, and I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe him. So,
and you know, he strikes me as like a gentleman indeed.
A gentleman, straightforward man, very credible personality. Now, I'm not privy to the conversations that they've had. Okay, it could be possible. I don't know that maybe in the future, Governor Udom Emmanuel would also join. I don't know. Okay, but anything is possible. But let me tell you, you see, the thing about democracy is that it's a game of numbers.
Yeah, true that.
So at the end of the day, you don't need 100% of the people to win an election in the state or in anywhere. You know, you need a majority. Okay, I can tell you that the majority of Akwa Ibom State has moved to the APC.
Interesting.
Because the governor spent, you know, reasonable, you know, quite some time, consulted, you know, with the political class, you know, and across board, across the political divide. Okay, the fathers of faith, the traditional institutions, our youths, the women, everywhere he went, you know, federal constituency, local government, by local government, and he went around. You know, he had to hear from the people.
Right.
So what he's doing is what Akwa Ibom wants. Akwa Ibom State has told him, Mr. Governor, go ahead, we are with you. And that's why he's moved.
Yeah, well, it was interesting at your, you know, and I'm going to, you know, also talk about that at your 60th birthday, you know, you saw PDP people mingling with APC people.
That again is the style of the way the governor is running the state. You see, the truth of the matter, let me tell you.
It seems that in Akwa Ibom there is politics without bitterness.
Yes.
That's the impression I got.
It's because of the way the governor is running the state. The governor says elections are over. Political parties are vehicles you use to achieve power. So long as you achieve power, you use the political power in the interest of the people that you govern. It really doesn't matter whether you are PDP, you are APC, you are Labour Party, whatever political leaning or inclination you belong to. You know, at the end of the day, you are an Akwa Ibom person, and he's governor of Akwa Ibom State. It's his style.
Yeah.
And that's what has earned him widespread acclaim all over the state. I'll tell you something. I don't know whether it's happened anywhere else in this country before. You know, before the governor moved, his party, the PDP, had endorsed him for a second term in office.
Oh, wow.
The APC, that was the opposition in the state, had endorsed him.
Yeah, I observed that too.
Yes, they endorsed him for a second term in office. IPAC, there's all the other political parties together, endorsed him because of his style of governance. He runs a pan-Akwa Ibom government, not a PDP government, not an APC government, not a Labour government, an Akwa Ibom government, and that's what Akwa Ibom people want.
I mean, because I was in the state myself, I can say that, you know, this is very accurate based on what I also...
Oh, yes, and that's why you saw, like you said, at my...
Yeah, at your 60th.
At 60th. I mean, before now, if an APC person is having an event, a PDP person will not show up.
Yeah, of course. You know the tensions we are...
You know?
You know,
the tensions were very high.
Yeah, especially after Akwa Ibom joined APC.
Exactly.
You know, and
the tensions were very, very high.
You know,
but the governor has been able to douse all of that tension. He's been able to let everybody understand. I mean, like he says, he comes with a ministry of reconciliation. He's been able to reconcile all you know.
There's a flip side, but I wanted to paint a scenario before we get there. So you had Atta since Fourth Republic, Obong Victor Atta,
yes.
You know, who handed over to Akwa Ibom. I don't remember whether they have any, how their relationship went, maybe you know. But then, from Akwa Ibom to Udom, there was quite a bit of tension, a lot of, you know.
Again, mainly because that was because Akwa Ibom moved from the PDP
to
the APC.
You know, which NO seem to have managed to do without any obvious open. Now,
but again, it's a style.
Yeah, but the flip side, Mr. Kere, is that. So, what is happening to the ideology of our parties? We are developing.
Tell me which
parties?
We have the Nigerian political parties don't have ideologies. They're just vehicles to get political power. We should develop ideologies. Yeah. I mean, the political parties should be, ideology based.
Yes,
but that's not the case in Nigeria.
Of course,
it's not the case.
That's my point.
There's no ideology in it. What's different between PDP and APC? You see, it depends on where you come from in this country. If you come from a region where the PDP is dominant, of course you're going to belong to PDP.
Yeah.
You come from a region where it's not about the ideology, my brother. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it is in our interest to go back
again,
because we used to be there.
It's work in progress. I think these are some of the things, and the National Assembly is they're tinkering with the electoral law, and so maybe it's high time we begin to institutionalize some of these things. Because all over the world you find the conservative and the progressive. So let's have this clear divide in Nigeria. It will be good.
It will be good.
But then it would happen when the political parties develop clear-cut manifestos.
Yeah. Well, APC started like that.
Yes.
Started like that. That was
I think PDP also started like that. But what happened?
Like that.
What happened?
PDP also started like that.
What happened?
Oh my God. Anyway, because of our time, I wanted to talk, about you as we end. So you have been in politics, but even before you were in politics, you have asserted yourself, made quite a bit of fortune, even before you got in politics. I heard the story, the other day. Won't you be running for office again? Shouldn't you be running for office again?
Well, you see, running for office is not a personal decision. I'm not, the way I am, I can tell you, when I ran for governor in 2019, at the end of the day, at the end of that process, we went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I issued a statement. I said that this is the end of my run for governor. And I meant exactly that. I say the things I mean, and I mean the things I say. That was the end of my run for governor.
Why?
Because I was done. I put in my best. For whatever reason, it didn't work out the way I expected it would. I give up. Let other people try, and I support them.
Was it that were you frustrated?
So again, it's over now, so there's no point going back.
It's how many years after that?
Yes, that was 2019.
Yeah. So we're talking 6 years ago.
Yeah, so it's over now. But I believe that we still need to work on the integrity of our elections, the electoral process. Votes should count. Votes should count. INEC, they're trying, but they still need to do more.
So what kind of reforms do you think we should? Well, that's a very important point that you made.
Oh yes, we should bring in as much as possible, technology and infrastructure into the electoral process. We should. What's so difficult about us getting election results real time as it's happening? What's difficult about that?
Which the INEC chairman promised us, actually.
With today's technology. This technology is there. It's just the political will to do it.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's so difficult about me going to vote in my village, in my unit, and at the end of that election, exactly the outcome of my voting is what is reported or announced? It's not difficult. It can be done. We need to get it done.
And this is a national problem that you have hinted at. Why do you think it's so easy for the manipulation, and the kind of conspiracy that has to be done to keep it going for this long? In your own view.
So one of the problems, in fact, the major reason you are able to manipulate systems is when the systems are not well defined. So if, as we are now, we introduce all the technology, all of the innovation that's necessary to make sure that the integrity of our elections are top-notch, it will happen. Laulu, the world has moved to a level where even bring AI in. Whatever you have to do it. Because it's happening all over the world. It's happening in Ghana.
Yeah. Ghana just had a very...
It's happening in Ghana.
Free and fair election.
The current president was president. He lost.
Yeah, and came back.
And
he won a popular election, free and fair.
So why can't it happen in Nigeria? It can happen. I believe this president has an opportunity to make it happen, and I think he's going to make it happen. Let's watch what happens, hopefully, in the second term.
I wish he could, but my brother, he hasn't spoken about it at all. I mean, the man is busy, mocking the opposition.
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
It's only 2 years.
I know.
It still has time.
No doubt about that.
I
said at the beginning that it does have time.
It still has time.
And I'm one of the people that are still holding out hope.
Yes. I am still very hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay? He still has time. Let's give him our support, every which way we can. He still has time.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so. Final question. Yeah, so now you are 60 and... you are not looking. You are looking as if we are just age mates. But
we thank God for His mercies.
But I've heard your story. Why you actually went into politics. When you were giving the speech, and then you announced that you were starting a foundation, and you announced a donation of 250 million. To help the people.
That needed most.
But say you are going to start from your state,
my locality,
your locality,
and then spread to the state, and then hopefully,
yeah. So I was going to say that now. I mean that's a noble thing to do, and I wish that we had more people, more of our political leaders, and generally leaders do this kind of stuff, because the problems that we are dealing with in our country today, my brother Sima, is that we can't leave it only into the hands
of government,
and political leaders alone. Not that if government wanted to do it, they couldn't muster the resources. But when you have the people rising to do what is right, it's even an encouragement to government, because anybody that's in government, that sees it, if they have any stuff at all, they will feel challenged. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what kind of structure is this foundation going to have, and how is it going to benefit people? What are the things that you want to focus on? Are you going to focus on education? Are you going to focus on poverty alleviation or health? What are the main things that
okay. So like you very rightly said, when I got into politics, what drove me? I mean, simple story. I went to my village to build a house. That was 2002, 2003.
Okay.
And then there was no water, potable, drinking water was a challenge.
What was the name of your village again?
Ikotoborayan. It's a tiny little village. in Akwa Ibom.
Under what local government?
Ikotabasi.
Ikotabasi, okay.
Ikotabasi
That was
local government.
well known, yeah.
When we're trying to buy building materials to take to the site,
Right.
the truck bringing materials will get stuck. Like every 10 meters, then we are bringing able-bodied men to come
and push the truck.
So,
loaded truck.
You know, the basic infrastructure was non-existent. You know, and then I remember also that eventually when I did sink a borehole, the entire village was now using that borehole.
Wow.
You know, and that meant something to me. It's like, you know, there's only so much as an individual that you can do to help the people. That was what drove me into politics. Wow. To be able to use political power to help the communities that need this infrastructure and these facilities. You know, I thank God, you know, over the years, I think some of those infrastructure now, at least is provided for in my community. Okay. But you see, there are still other communities that still have these basic needs. Before the end of the year, you begin to, at least the first set of interventions would have been done. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
thank you,
Obong Usimai Kere, for coming to Inside Sources. And thank you for your contributions, you know, both in the private sector and when you were deputy governor and also managing director of NDDC. And thank you for your ongoing contribution to national development.
Thank you very much, Laulo. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means that Nigeria will win because we will keep at the issues and we know that we will get that good break. My name is Laolu Akonde. Thank you for watching. I'll see you by the grace of God at the next edition.